The Sceptered Isle, where the medieval meets the new millennium. A cultural, political, and financial powerhouse, where pomp and ceremony go hand in hand with its undeniable mystique. Join us as Asian Air Safari visits England. There are some things that would only come to you in a dream, like flying over great cities on a bed of music, seeing strange alien symbols drawn on fields of golden wheat. If you were an adventurous soul like me, you would listen to those dreams calling. Bright and early in London, a cryptic email from my friend Pete and Phil brought me here. Something about flying over London in balloons. Flying balloons in one of the busiest airspaces in the world was unheard of. Precisely why I hopped on the first plane over here. I was headed to St. James Park to rendezvous with my friend for an afternoon flight. But first, a walking tour through the city to take in its famous sights. Starting from the South Bank, I come across one of London's most recent attractions. The London Eye is London's most popular paid tourist attraction. From the South Bank, I cross the Thames via Westminster Bridge. Westminster Bridge leads you to the city of Westminster, seat of British political power.
Behind me is one of the most iconic buildings in the world. It's the British Parliament. And at the end of the building is a 13-ton clock called the Big Ben.
The Houses of Parliament, also referred to as Westminster Palace, may refer to its two buildings. The Old Palace, a medieval building complex that was destroyed in 1834, and the New Palace, which stands today. Designed by Charles Barry, it is one of the finest examples of perpendicular Gothic architecture. A stone's throw away from the Houses of Parliament is Westminster Abbey, Britain's finest medieval church. Done in the Gothic style like Notre Dame in Paris, it is used for coronations and funerals of British monarchs, many of whom are buried within its crypt.
It's been a while since I used one of these. 60 pence, I think that's too expensive. I'll stick to my handful.
Walking along Whitehall Street, you come across this stern-faced gentleman guarding one of the most famous addresses in the world, 10 Downing Street, home of the British Prime Minister. Further along Whitehall is Horse Guards, home of the Household Cavalry, whose primary role is to guard Her Majesty the Queen on ceremonial occasions in London and across the United Kingdom. They are also an active unit that serve around the world in armored fighting vehicles. Mounted troopers are posted outside from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. I arrived right on time for the hourly changeover. Right at the heart of London is Trafalgar Square, the city's traditional gathering space for community events, political demonstrations, and the New Year celebrations. Its centerpiece is Nelson's Column, guarded by 4 lion statues at its base. At each corner of the square are 4 plinths. Statues of English notables occupy 3. Legend has it that the council could not decide whom to put on the 4th plinth, and so they left it empty. Today, it features specially commissioned works from contemporary artists.
Everyone is trying to do something to entertain somebody and earn a living.
One of the best photo ops in London is to pose with the immovable Grenadier Guards, posted outside St. James Palace.
And this is the place where I always try to have a photo every visit.
After my photo op, it was off to the junction of Marlborough Road and the mall to watch the regimental banner.
And this is my favorite spot to watch the changing of the guards because the Buckingham Palace is really crowded. I bring all my guests to this spot and wait for the horses to pass by. Always an interesting time of the day here in London.
During the height of the British Empire, when Britain held sway over 1/4 of the world's population, displays of ceremony and military might such as this were meant to impress and intimidate visiting dignitaries from its vassal nations. The changing the guard ceremony, or guard mounting, has remained unchanged for over 350 years and attracts large crowds of tourists daily. I wasn't up to braving them. I was only interested in seeing the horses. Buckingham Palace is the London home and primary residence of the British monarch since 1837. When she is in residence, the blue, red, and yellow royal standard flies from the mast. When she isn't, it's the Union Jack that is flown. I guess she was off to the country today. Across Buckingham Palace is the 23-hectare St. James Park, the oldest of the city's 8 royal parks. Together, these open spaces make London the greenest city in Europe.
One thing nice about London is that anywhere you go, even if there's heavy traffic everywhere, there will always be a park to hang out, especially on a nice day like this. Hi, Phil.
Fantastic. How long is it? 15 years?
I met up with Phil and his wife, Ali. After exchanging pleasantries, they told me today's balloon flight over London was cancelled due to unfavorable winds. With a window of only 2 more days to go, there was a chance that the balloons might not even get to fly at all. I was crossing my fingers.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a rare opportunity to fly over the metropolitan area of London. There's permissions that it takes and the airports and all the clearances. So if we do it, we're
and the pilot's
really
skill.
Well, there's a bit of that, but actually it's mostly paperwork. So I reckon London, one of the places you can get the biggest variety of food anywhere. So it's time we went to have some lunch in St. James's Park.
I'm always hungry.
And a good pint of cider.
Yep. So here we go.
Let's go for it.
After lunch with my friends, I took their advice and bought a ticket for a cruise on the River Thames, the lifeblood of London. The Thames is the longest river in England. It was along the banks of the Thames that the first settlements were established over 2,000 years ago, making London one of the oldest inhabited cities in the world. Its name was given by the Romans, who called it Londinium. A cruise along the Thames is a great way to see London's iconic landmarks such as the Tower Bridge, the egg-shaped City Hall designed by architect Norman Foster, and the infamous Tower of London. The Thames cruise terminates at Greenwich Village. Once the seat of British naval power, here you can find the Royal Navy College, designed by Sir Christopher Wren, a designated UNESCO World Heritage building. Many Londoners come to Greenwich to escape the busy city to enjoy its laid-back atmosphere and the leafy green expanse of Greenwich Park. Overlooking Greenwich is the Royal Observatory, built in 1675 to help solve the riddle of longitude. In 1884, it was designated as the prime meridian of the world. Greenwich Meridian Time, or GMT for short, is the universal measurement of standard time. Here, you can stand with one foot in the Eastern Hemisphere and the other in the West.
This is the prime meridian. This is where the time starts, both from eastward or westward. And also for pilots, this is very important because all our times start from here as well.
The observatory offers great view of the Docklands, London's financial center and home of the city's skyscrapers. when Asian Air Safari returns. The following morning, still no go on the balloon flight. I got a call from my friends Pete and Tony to meet them this afternoon in Guildford, where the winds would be more favorable for a balloon flight. I had time to kill. I decided to see a few more of the city sights. Tired from yesterday's walk, I decided to take London's excellent public transportation.
The tube is a nice way to travel, but I think I'll experiment this morning and try the bus. I'd like to go to St. Paul's. Here's my bus now. Double-deck bus. This is the only way to travel around London.
First stop is the magnum opus of the architect Sir Christopher Wren, St. Paul's Cathedral.
This is St. Paul's Cathedral. They say that the dome is only second to St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. During the war, none of the German bombs were able to hit this place. They call this a bomb-dodging dome.
Not only is this masterpiece considered his finest work, but it is also his final resting place. From St. Paul's, I head towards the bankside of the Millennium Bridge.
This is the Millennium Bridge. The locals call it the Wobbly Knobbly Bridge because it swayed so much after construction. They spent another £2 million to correct that, and it works well right now.
Bankside makes for a pleasant stroll along the banks of the Thames. Shakespeare's Globe Theatre is one of the many attractions to be found here. I hop in the London subway, affectionately known as the Tube, to visit the shopaholic haven that is Oxford Street.
Oxford Street is the place to shop.
From there, it was time to take a train to Guildford, a 45-minute train ride away. En route, I spotted the smokestacks of the famed Battersea Power Station, another of London's iconic structures. I meet my old friend Pete Bish at Tony's house in Guildford.
That's great that you've finally made it for your visit to England.
I met Pete 20 years ago while he was flying the British Airways balloon all over the world. Tony is a retired Concorde flight engineer who now runs a ballooning business. He has visited me in the Philippines, and it is my second time here in his home. Tony operates a large envelope balloon with a carrying capacity of over 20 passengers.
This is what I would call a 747.
After prepping the equipment, it was off to the launch site in nearby Surrey.
So we're right behind the Squirrel Pub here in Guildford. Sarah's organizing the passengers, and we're trying to get all these balloons going.
Even here, the conditions weren't ideal. The decision was to wait until early evening when hopefully the winds would have died down. We spent the time catching up and exchanging stories. Of what? Why, flying, of course. It seems we never run out of things to talk about. After much debate, it was deemed that wind conditions were too risky for this evening's flight.
Well, what do you think, Tony?
Well, it's still coming through too gusty.
Yes.
We're not sure why, and that's one of the reasons why we wouldn't go tonight, is because we can't understand what's going on.
That's why I like flying with you.
It's not forecast. Chances are in 20 minutes time it'll all drop out, but that's the way it goes, and as I've explained to all the other passengers, that
Yes.
Safety is the most important thing, and we can do it again.
We retired to Tony's quaint cabin and consoled ourselves with some pizza and beers. It was still a great day in my books, But, like teenagers with an oversupply of energy, the Guilford gang decided to let me have a go at the hopper balloon when the wind died down. The following day, still no go on the London flight. I decided to drive to the city of Bristol. I drive across its famous landmark, the Clifton Suspension Bridge. Designed by Victorian architect Isambard Kingdom Brunel. At 150 years old, it was originally designed for horse-drawn carriages. Another of Brunel's creation may be seen in Bristol Harbour.
This is another of Brunel's creation, the SS Great Britain. It's the first steam-powered ocean liner.
Bristol is also the home of Cameron Balloons, the largest manufacturer of balloons in the world. I was met by Nick Purvis, who took me on a tour of the factory.
So this is our technical office. All the designs for the balloon are generated here, whether it's for the fabric panels or whether it's for the baskets, the burners. For the envelopes, this is the starting point. What we are doing here is cutting the graphics for the envelope, the artwork side, to go on top of the balloon. So this is a automatic cutter, so you can see the sort of level of quality that we've got. So after we've cut the lettering and done the printing of the images, the rest of the balloon is cut conventionally from our ripstop nylon here, which is specially developed for Cameron balloons. So all those cut panels that you saw downstairs arrive up here in a bin. This is where we make the engine of the balloon, yes. Our burner. Burner controls are really quite straightforward. You have a couple of handles to let the gas through the valve. You have a pressure gauge to tell you what the pressure of the gas is. Of course, underneath your balloon, you need a basket. And so we have our own basket trimming section here. The baskets are actually woven about an hour to the south of here because there's a tradition of basket weaving in Somerset. This is the last element of a balloon, and that's the fuel tanks. We've seen the burners. Well, they need a lot of fuel to do a typical...
The huge ones.
Absolutely.
Tanks are getting bigger and bigger.
So we have 80-litre tanks, we have 60-litre tanks, and we have the smaller tanks.
I also had a chance to chat with Don Cameron, the owner of Cameron Balloons.
Don, it's already the 40th anniversary of Cameron Balloons, huh?
Yes, it is. It's a long time, 40 years. And of course we've grown in that time, and we started building in the basement of the house I was living in to begin with, and then gradually built up. When we took this building, we only occupied part of it, and now we fill it completely. Many changes in that time. Computers, of course, weren't available at the beginning.
Yeah.
And now we use computers extensively in design.
Don, thank you very much for spending time with me. I enjoyed my last visit here, and I continue to enjoy seeing the different things. Things are improving in our part of the world, and I hope that we can encourage people to buy and start flying more balloons in our part of the world. So thank you, and I hope you can come and visit me.
I hope so. Yes, I hope so.
When Asian Air Safari returns, back in London at the crack of dawn, my final attempt at flying over London in a balloon. Would the winds be favorable today? It was now or never.
It's not every day that you can fly over London City, and this flight has been cancelled for the past 3 days. So there are so many people, so many press people wanting to have a ride. There are only 7 balloons allowed to fly because a certain requirement for flying skill to be able to fly over London. So I hope I can get into one of these balloons.
Our launch site was Sceptered Park in central London. There was excitement in the air as the balloons were being inflated. Even at 5 in the morning, a crowd had gathered to witness this historic occasion. It seems that Lady Luck was finally on my side this morning. Owner-pilot Robin Batchelor signaled for me to climb aboard his balloon.
So 10 minutes from now.
It was all systems go, and the countdown began.
Okay, Roger, hands off everybody, listen up, hands off.
And just as I had dreamt, this was no ordinary balloon flight. Each of the 7 balloons taking flight had loudspeakers attached to them, filling the early morning London air with music. We had become an orchestra in the sky.
Robin, what are we trying to achieve with this music? I mean, it's very nice, but I still don't understand.
Well, it's a gift to the population of London, and it's to announce the 1 year until the Olympics.
Okay.
It's something that's been done by the artist Luke Jerram as an artistic, unorthodox use of balloons.
Yes.
It engages the city, it makes them think, it's artistic. Now you know what I know.
Okay.
I'm just a balloon pilot.
I had spent the past few days exploring the capital city on foot, by bus, and by train. But for me, this was the best way to see London, or any city for that matter. After an all too short 45-minute flight, we began our descent, hoping to find a suitable landing spot in London's urban jungle. Not an easy task by any means.
You wait and see mine.
Specialise in
the hedge is Batchelor for nothing. Any second now, be ready to look after your camera. Joy, welcome back to terra firma.
Well, that was a perfect landing.
It was, yeah, it was.
I mean, between the poles, and you stopped right here.
Yeah, just before the hedge. To fly over London is a treat, it's a privilege. But to do that, I have, yeah. But to play that music for Sky Orchestra, it's amazing.
With my mission accomplished, it was time to head out of London via the busy M4 motorway and reunite with my friend Pete in his home in Hungerford, Berkshire County.
Driving along the British countryside is always nice. You can see all sorts of stuff. Sheeps, horses, almost anything. Okay, here's Pete's house now.
Pete and his wife Elaine would be my host for the next part of my England adventure. As a welcome, Pete, Elaine, and another old friend, Dick Plume, brought me to a traditional English pub. It was there that they taught me the joys of a proper pint of English beer.
You say Madu Highs, you say cheers.
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 I'm in England, I should say cheers.
So this is traditional English bitter, English beer. This particular one is brewed just down the road in Devizes. It's called the Wadworth Brewery, and yeah, we prefer it to what we call fizzy lager beers.
Lager type beers, they are, you have a cask with carbon dioxide on the top, which forces the beer down the line, and it ends up very fizzy. With this, you either serve it straight from the barrel by gravity, or you use the hand pump or an electric pump.
And you have to have it in a pub.
It tastes better in a pub.
Yeah, it tastes better in a pub.
Why is it? I mean, has the pub always been a part of British life?
Yeah, the pub has always been an important part of life in the village, in the small town and the big town. It's where the working man went after his working day to relax and forget about the
the pain of the work that he's just done.
What about retired old men like you? Why are you here?
A pint with old friends in this picturesque town in the English countryside. What a perfect way to end the first part of my journey. I knew England had a lot more in store for me though, and I look forward to it.
This has been your captain, Joy Roa. See you in our next Asian Air Safari.